Welcome to the webinar. You have entered as an organizer and may now speak to any other organizers or panelists on the line. When you are ready to begin the presentation, press the Start Broadcast button on the GoToWebinar control panel to allow all attendees to hear you. This system will notify you once you begin your broadcast. The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi, everyone, and thanks for joining me. This is Catherine Rogers here at Sigma headquarters. It's just now 4 o'clock Eastern Time, according to my clock here at the office. We do have quite a few registrants that had signed up for today's webcast, and I generally like to start at just a couple minutes after the hour just to give people a little extra time to log on. So if you don't mind, just sit tight for a couple minutes, and I see people are still joining in and connecting to audio. So just hang out, grab some late afternoon coffee or some more water, and we're going to get started here in just a minute or two. Thanks for joining me. All right, everybody, we're going to go ahead and get started, and hopefully the rest of our registrants will hop on and join us. Thank you again for making time today to listen in to our presentation. We're going to talk about preparing for the 2017-2019 Chapter Key Award. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Catherine Rogers, and I am one of 2 chapter and regional operations specialists here at Sigma headquarters in Indianapolis. That title is just a very long, fancy way of saying that I work with our established chapters here. So I work with chapters in regions 1 through 7, and then my colleague and friend Myra works with chapters in North America regions 8 through 15. So you've probably talked to one of us. And I am also the staff liaison for the Chapter Key Award, which is why I'm presenting today. I see a lot of familiar names on the attendee list, so thank you all for making time. I'm sure a lot of this will be familiar information to those of you who have applied for a Key Award before, but if you have not applied for a Key Award, or if you haven't in quite some time, I hope you find this information beneficial, and I hope this is a good refresher for you if it's been a while since you've applied. Because there are quite a few of you on the line, and because I am recording our webcast today, I am going to keep everyone muted just for sound quality so that everyone can hear me clearly, and so that everyone can hear any questions that might be asked. But I do want it to be as interactive as possible. So if at any point throughout my presentation you have any questions or comments, concerns, any advice or tips or anecdotes that you want to share about successfully applying for the Key Award, I welcome that input. So please do take a moment to share that, and you can use your question log to do that. If it is a question and you don't hear me answer it right away, just know that that may be because I'm going to get to it later in the presentation. So I'm not ignoring you. I may just be saving that question for later on. And I promise I will make sure that we have plenty of time at the end of the presentation for additional questions. But I like to keep it pretty casual. So if there's something that you need throughout my presentation, please do use that question box there. And if we need to stop on a slide or something and clarify something, I am happy to do so. So please make it interactive. Our agenda for today, obviously we've done a little introduction. We'll talk about what the Key Award actually is and answer the age-old question, is there actually a key with the Key Award? We'll go over some important dates and times that you need to remember. We'll talk about the eligibility information and what your chapter needs to remember and maintain to be eligible to apply for the Key Award. Then we'll talk about the criteria itself, and we'll take a look at the application and where you can find the application and the instruction guide. And then we'll talk about some strategies and resources to make your life as easy as possible when you're actually filling out the application. We'll take a brief look at the submission portal and the technology side of things. And then, like I said, I will make sure that we have plenty of time for questions should there be some at the end. Okay, sound good? Okay, so first and foremost, I want to make sure that you all know who you can call should you need something as you're working throughout the biennium on the Chapter Key Award. So as I mentioned, I am the staff liaison for the Chapter Key Award, which means that I deal with all of the eligibility. So I track all 545, however many chapters we have now. I track every chapter's eligibility throughout the entire biennium. I am in charge of maintaining the criteria, tracking all of that, and then I work with our regional coordinators to recruit judges as well. So if you need something in regards to your chapter's eligibility, or if you are working on the application and you have clarifications on a criteria section or an example, or just need to talk something through on the application itself, my contact information is there for you. That's obviously my email address, and that is my direct line. So call me. Please do make use of me. On the other side of that, if you have technical questions, when you're actually going in and submitting, if you're getting any type of error message, it's not letting you upload your application to the portal, something like that, that is Kelsey Van Wyk. She works in our awards department, and she handles all of the technical aspects of all of our awards, whether that be individual, chapter, or international awards. So her information is there on the screen for you as well. I'm pretty handy with the technical stuff too. I can get you through that, but if you call me and you stump me with a technical question, I will pass you along to Kelsey. So if you need something, please don't hesitate to call either of us at any time. So the Chapter Key Award was established in 1991, and it was formed to honor Sigma chapters who excel in essentially giving the best membership experience to their members possible. And they wanted to recognize chapters who stand out in chapter-related activities, including recruitment and retention, publicity and programming, professional and or leadership development, as well as local, national, and international collaboration. Recipients are recognized in person at each biennial convention, and yes, there is an actual key. As you can see on your screen there, the key is on a really nice ribbon there. It's engraved. And the first time that you are a recipient of the Key Award, you receive the banner that you hang your key on. Each banner holds 5 keys. So the first time you are a recipient of the Key Award, you get the key in the banner. The second through 5th time, you just get the key. Then each 6th time you're a recipient of the Key Award, you'll get a new banner to keep hanging those keys on. And they're really pretty. And the banner will have your chapter name on them and all of that. They're really nice. People always ask, is there a key? And yes, in fact, there is. Something to look forward to. So some important dates to keep in mind as you plan. The chapter key award does span the entire biennium, so make sure that you are keeping that in mind. It goes from July 1, 2017 to June 30th, 2019. So that's 2 full fiscal years that the application covers. So that's a lot of data that you're having to collect, and that's a lot of information and a lot of programming that you're collecting. So make sure that you're keeping that in mind. It's not just a 1-year award. I've already gotten some calls asking about how they can apply, thinking that it was an annual award application. So make sure that you're getting that biennial application in your mind. The call for nominations is actually already open. However, hopefully no one will have applied already because we are not even close to being finished with the second fiscal year of the biennium. So if you were to send in your chapter's application right now, well, first of all, we would have no way to judge it because we don't have judges recruited yet. And quite frankly, I don't think you would meet the required minimum points because you're basically missing an entire fiscal year. So I would be concerned if someone applied right now. However, it is open, just for your information. The deadline for key award submissions is not until July 15th of next year, so 2019. The reason for that deadline is because, as I mentioned, the key award runs the span of the entire biennium, so both fiscal years, and the end of our fiscal year next year is June 30th, 2019. So that July 15th submission date gives you a little bit of wiggle room to wrap up any fiscal year end activities and still have time to tie up your narrative and finalize your application, dot your I's and cross your T's, all that good stuff, and still get it submitted on time. So we've got those 2 extra weeks in there after the end of the fiscal year for you. Notifications, I like the little question marks there in there. It is in September 2019. Generally, we shoot for mid-September. However, depending on how many applications we receive and how long it takes our judges to get through all the applications, sometimes it's that second week in September when they're notified. Sometimes it's the third week. It really just depends on the workload that our judges take on. But it is always done in September because generally we try to have our judges be totally done by the end of August so that we have plenty of time to get notifications out. And then the awards celebration is, as I mentioned, always in person at Biennial Convention, which convention next year is in Washington, D.C., and that is the 16th through the 20th of November. So eligibility is pretty crucial. Obviously, there's a lot that you have to do to even be eligible to apply for the Chapter Key Award. Again, it recognizes activity between July 1, 2017 and June 30th, 2019. So you must maintain your chapter's eligibility through that entire 2-year time span. Okay, so you can't just be eligible for 1 year or another. You have to maintain your chapter's eligibility that entire time. So you have to meet all of the chapter responsibilities that are outlined in the SGMA bylaws, including supporting the purposes, so the mission and vision of SGMA, observing the provisions of the bylaws, complying with our policies and regulations. Basically, this means that you have to have the full board of directors. Your board of directors and your committee members have to maintain their active memberships, and we do go in and check that. So if your chapter ends up applying for the Key Award, during the judging period, I actually go into your chapter management system and double check that you have all of your officers and committee members listed and that they are all active members. So you will want to make sure that that is maintained and accurate and current, especially through June, July, August, and into early September. That's really crucial. You also must meet the requirements of hosting at least 2 events or programs per fiscal year. So that's 4 total for that entire biennium. You must have an annual business meeting each fiscal year. So that's 2 total. And then hold an annual election. So that's again 2 elections for the entire biennium. Nicole has a question. What if an officer was not active for a couple weeks during the period? That's a good question. To be quite honest, we have no way of knowing if someone forgot to renew for 2 weeks in March 2019. The biggest thing is, like I said, during the submission and judging period, that's when I actually go in and double check. So once that submission and judging period is open after July 15th, and say Alpha chapter submits an application, and I get a list of all of the chapters that submit, I'm going to go in and say, okay, I've got Alpha's application. I'm going to go in and double check. Oh, they're missing 3 committee members and this person needs to renew. I will then give them a courtesy call and say, hey, you're going to want to get these updated, but if they don't then take care of it, that essentially means that they're ineligible. So we try to be pretty gracious, but the main thing that, I mean, obviously you want to have all of your officers listed and all of them active at all times. But things happen, people fall off, but just make sure that especially July, August, September, through that judging period, that's really crucial because I will be going in and checking. I'm not trying to sound scary and threatening, but we do double check. Okay, good question, Nicole. You also must have participated in the House of Delegates back in 2017, which was here in Indianapolis. So if chapters did not come to that, they were ineligible. And that disqualifies them for applying for the entire biennium. You must have held an induction at least once per fiscal year. So again, that's 2 inductions for the entire span of the award. You must have cashed all your chapter checks and have filed your IRS Form 990 each year if you are a U.S. chapter. And we track all of this. And then make sure that you have filed your annual reports on time for both 2017 and 2018. And then that your chapter filed the bylaws on time this year as well. We try to do a really good job of notifying chapters right after deadlines. So for example, the 2018 annual report deadline was August 1st. If chapters did not submit or submitted late, I tried to notify them like the week after to let them know, unfortunately, your chapter submitted late or we've not received your submission. Unfortunately, you're ineligible for the Key Award. That's certainly not welcome news for our chapters, but I try to do it out of a courtesy to them so that they're not wasting their time on a Key Award application for, basically a year, and then they get a notification almost a year later saying, oh, actually, you can't apply. So we try to do a really good job of notifying people throughout the biennium of their eligibility or ineligibility so that they're not, well, it's disappointing, so that they're not wasting time on that application if they actually are ineligible to apply. So your chapter should already know if they are ineligible based on annual reports or bylaws or House of Delegates. Those are the 3 really big things that basically, if you don't do it, you don't do it, and you're kind of out of luck. So you should know about those things already. The other things are kind of ongoing, and you need to keep track of continually. Any questions on that eligibility stuff before we move on? Okay, not seeing any, so we're going to keep going, but if something pops into your head, like I said, we'll have time at the end. So let's talk about the criteria itself. The good news is, some of you may have remembered that a couple years ago, there was an increase in the minimum points required to apply, and there were some criteria changes. None of that has taken place this biennium. So other than some slight grammar changes and basically changing the dates on the application itself, everything else is basically exactly the same. So that's good. And this is the breakdown of the points. So there's leadership development, which is 16 possible points. Membership engagement, that section is 30 possible points. You'll notice that is the most points heavy section. That is intentional because, as I mentioned, this is supposed to be an award that is recognizing chapter excellence in the membership experience. You are not to get on my soapbox, but you are a membership organization. You are all about serving your members. You are not about, meeting, or furthering the agendas of your board members or what have you. You are about serving your membership as a whole. So that's why that membership engagement section is pretty hefty on the points. Chapter operations is 14 possible points. Publicity and recruitment is 12 possible points. And then there are 2 possible extra credit points. So total possible points, 72, 74 with that extra credit. You must have self-scored a minimum of 50 points out of the 72 to be even able to apply. And so when I say self-score, you have the application, there's all the criteria section on there. You go through and fill it out. It's all narrative, and I'm going to show you the application itself here in just a second if you've not seen it. So you go through and you fill it out. The points are laid out for you. You then self-score, add up all of your points. And if your chapter has 50 or more, then you can apply. If you have fewer than 50 points, then you are not eligible to apply. If you submit your application with 49 points, it will not be judged. So make sure that you're hitting that 50 threshold. Another tip from a professional here, some insider information. Judges for the Key Award can deduct points if they feel your narrative was not fleshed out enough, or if they feel that the program example that you gave for a criteria section did not effectively meet the criteria, they can deduct points. So if your chapter submits an application with only 51 points and you have some pretty tough judges and they deduct 2 or 3 points, then you're below that 50 minimum and you're not going to be a recipient. So I always tell chapters, try to get, shoot for 52, 54, 56 points if you can. If you're starting to work on that application now, and you're feeling like you're not going to be close to that 50 points, you've still got plenty of time in this fiscal year to add some additional programming in or find some ways to boost some points and find some more points in some of these criteria sections, because the possibility is that you can have some points deducted. Okay, so submitting with exactly 50, I wouldn't recommend. I'm not saying that you are going to get tough judges or that they will deduct points, but it is a possibility. So pad yourselves a little bit. Don't cheat. I'm not like, don't cheat or anything like that. Don't go overly flowery, but just be aware that try to get above 50 if possible. Okay. So before we get into the strategies, let me pause here, and I want to make sure that everybody sees the actual, sorry, I can't talk and click at the same time. I want to make sure that everybody sees the actual application and everything itself, okay? So I'm going to show you where to find it and how to get there. Hopefully you're all familiar with the All Chapter Officers work group, but if not, this is how you get there. You start from our main website. You go to sigmanursing.org, and then in the top right corner, you'll see these blue hyperlinks, and you'll click on chapters. We'll scroll down about mid-page here. Kind of hard to tell, but these blue headers here are also hyperlinks. So you're going to click on the All Chapter Officers work group, and as long as you are listed in the chapter management system for your chapter, you will have access to the All Chapter Officers work group, which is exactly what it sounds like. Excuse me. It is a work group within the Circle, which is our professional networking site that is specifically for our chapter officers. So every single chapter officer from all 500 some chapters have access to this. So we've got announcements from staff, reminders about upcoming events and deadlines, discussions where you can ask questions and get answers from other chapter leaders, as well as input and reminders from staff. But where we want to get to today is the library files. The library files are where the tangible, downloadable, in-hand resources are all housed for our chapter leaders, okay? So what you see here, these library files on the homepage of the All Chapter Officers Workgroup, this is just like a teaser. So these are the top 5 most recent library files. We want to be able to find all of them. So I'm going to go all the way back up till I can see these purple tabs, and we're going to go to the library tab. And you'll see once we get here that our library is organized nice and neat with these folders. Anytime that you've got a folder selected, it will be highlighted in blue, and then your folder contents are going to show to the right over here. Sometimes I think people are like, well, where's the stuff in the folder? Once you've clicked on a folder, so if I click on this bylaws folder, you see the folder's contents change. This is what's in the bylaws folder, okay? So for us, we are looking for the awards folder. It's kind of hidden. It's in some subfolders. So to get to the subfolders, you're going to use these little gray arrows. This gray arrow indicates that there's a subfolder. So we're going to expand using this gray arrow here, and then we're going to open the awards chair folder and expand that, and then expand the SUTI awards and get into the chapter key award. This is where the PDF of the instruction guide is. The instruction guide is also downloadable. It's extremely helpful. It has all of the dates, deadlines, reminders, all of the eligibility information, everything essentially that I'm going over with today without the professional insider information. All of that is in there, downloadable for you to have and to save and keep. And then the key award application itself, to get to anything in the library, you just double click on it. You can see who posted it. There's me. I posted it. And then you can either click on the title of the document to download it or click the download button, either one. And that will allow you to download and save it for your use. So you don't have to keep coming back to the All Chapter Officers Workgroup each time. You can download it once and there, it's yours. You can save it and start working on it. So this is what it looks like. For those of you who have done a chapter key award a few times in the past, you remember the old Excel spreadsheet application. And if you remember the old Excel spreadsheet application, you probably remember the old locked cells and the pain and the suffering that came with that Excel spreadsheet. That is no more. Our application for the past couple bienniums and for the foreseeable future is a Word document, and it's a Word form. Super easy. There's basically no way that you can break this. There's no way that I can break it. It's really easy for you all to use. Basically, wherever you see a yellow box, that means this is a box that you will be able to enter text into. Anything else, if you try to click on this, see if I click here, I can't type anything there. It's just going to scoop me down to the next yellow box. Wherever you see the yellow box, there's also a gray box within there. You can just click on the gray box. Let me zoom in because this is all kind of small here. Let's see if I can zoom. There we go. So in any criteria section, you can see the gray box. You can click within it, and you can just start typing whatever you want. I'm going to say hi to my friend Joni Jackson, who is listening in on the webcast today, and whatever you want. And then there's no character limit, and you can type. That's how you enter your answers there. But anywhere else you cannot type on. We do have hyperlinks within it, which is nice. So if you don't have the instruction guide handy, or you don't know how to get back to the All Chapter Officers Workgroup handy, this is linked right here for you. So we try to make it as easy as possible for you to complete this. So when you're filling this out, whoever is working on it, whether it's an individual, whether it's a small group of the board, whether your chapter puts together a key award committee, whatever, make sure that you enter the nominator's name or names. It doesn't necessarily put you on the hook for anything. It just, if there's any problems with the application or if we need to contact anybody, we like to have everybody's names. Obviously, put the chapter name in there, please, and make sure you get your chapter name right. We have had it happen before where a chapter puts the incorrect chapter name on there, so make sure you double check. And then here we've got the total possible points, the minimum points to reply reminder, and then you can put your total overall points that you have self-scored there at the top. Again, we've got eligibility here. We've got some helpful tips and then how to contact us if you have questions. If you email this ChapServe email address, I will get that email. So if you don't remember my email address off the top of your head, email ChapServe or call our 888 number and you will get me, okay? And then you just go through it and there's all the different sections and headers. Each criteria is spelled out. If there's any notes on there, we put those in there. If there are any necessary linked items back to the, any definitions, things like that, we've got those linked for you. We try to have examples for every single criteria item for you. Please know that you are not at all limited to what is listed in the examples. So for this leadership development intern, we have 2 examples here. Whatever your chapter did may go above and beyond or be completely different or look different than these 2 examples here. And that's completely fine. And it may absolutely 100% meet this leadership development criteria. That's awesome. You are not limited to the examples, okay? These are just here to be helpful kind of little prompts. I get that question a lot. We did this, it's not listed in the examples. Go for it. Put it in the criteria section. Go get your points, okay? And then you just type. You see there's 2 columns. One is for the first fiscal year, the other's for the second. Again, there's no character limit. You can type as long as you want. Another insider information tip, more information is always better. What I have seen is that judges will take away points when the narratives are not fleshed out enough and there's not enough information there for them to really be able to judge, does this meet the criteria or not? So take your time on it. Don't just put a sentence or 2. You don't have to write a novel, but make sure that you're giving enough information so that someone who knows nothing about your chapter will be able to say, yes, this meets this criteria section. You don't have to fill out both fiscal year columns. If you only did a leadership intern program for 1 year, that's okay. Self-score yourself for 1 point for that year. Totally fine. Make sure that you're putting your points in each column, and then as you're working your way through, you'll see that at the end of each section, there's a total there. So if you got 8 points for your chapter operations section, you can put your total. Just makes it easier for you to add it up at the end. Trying not to scroll too fast and make you all nauseous, but here we go. You can see it's long. It's a 17-page application. That's what I mean when there's a lot of data in here. So make sure you're collecting data already. And then at the very bottom, again, the reminder, total possible points is 72. You have to have at least 50. And then you total your self-scored overall points down here again as well. Any questions on the actual application itself before we move on? Or any questions on, I don't want to get, we'd be here until next Thursday if we talked about each criteria section, but any general questions about the application? Nope. Clear as mud. Okay. Oh, I have an input here from a key award judge from a previous biennium. And this person says, I was a reviewer for the last biennium. Catherine is correct. Thank you for backing me up. One thing I noticed, more information is better. We don't know your chapter and its events. We need to know what happened. For example, don't just say you had 2 inductions in the last biennium. Tell us about your induction, the date, the number of inductees, how the event was accepted, etc. So that's from a judge. It's not just from staff. So there you go. Here's another question. Is the nominator the person completing the application? Generally, yes, the nominator is the person completing the application. So if I'm filling it out on behalf of Alpha Chapter, I would put my name at the top. Like I said, it doesn't necessarily put me on the hook for anything. It's just basically listing me as the chapter contact should anything come up. This is a good question. Maria asks, how detailed statistics or more to lay out value to members? And this is a good question. I think as you get into the application, you'll see where there are some places where statistics are appropriate, some criteria sections it is, and others not so much. I think the biggest thing is the value to the members, like how, as the previous judge mentioned in her comment, how was it accepted and how was it received? Was it a big success? Did you grow upon it? Did you do it 2 fiscal years in a row? Did you expand upon it in the second year because it was a huge success, or how did it grow? Things like that. Just keep in mind that this is meant to be a membership experience and a membership excellence award. So while statistics are great, our chapters vary from size and membership size. And so if a chapter says we had 10 people come to our event, that may be great for them, but may look terrible against another chapter that says we had 700 inductees accept. So statistics are not always an indicator of success, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So I would say more narrative of value to members is what's going to hit home on this application more than anything. Good question. Any other application questions before we get into strategies? I see a couple hands raised, so I'm going to unmute those people. Joni, I see your hand raised. I've got you unmuted. Did you have a question?
Hi, my friend Catherine.
Hi,
yes,
Joni. How are you?
Well, thank you. I just wanted to share a lesson learned. Last biennium was our first attempt to submit a application, and I took that on as a sole responsibility. We were successful in attaining the award, but it was a lot of work. This time we have selected a small committee to work on that, and I would strongly advise other people to get a group together and sort of delegate responsibilities for different parts of the application, or to work collectively on the application. It makes much better sense, and it sure is a lot easier.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. Good to hear. Good to hear from you.
Good to hear from you.
Anybody else before we get into some strategies? Okay. Let's keep powering through. And I'm sure I've touched on these at some point already. If you have not already, download that key award form, download that instruction form. You saw how long it is, 17 pages, the application itself. So start reading it now and start getting familiar with the criteria, read through that instruction guide. The instruction guide is also very thorough. Like I said, it's a lot of the same information that I'm telling you guys today. So we try to make your lives as easy as possible. I promise you. So make sure that you have those in hand already. Don't wait until last minute to get your hands on those. And I would say also make sure that you do go into All Chapter Officers Workgroup and get this biennium's form. I see a lot of times chapters are working on past biennium's forms, either 2017, 2015 forms, sometimes even older than that. So make sure, double, triple check that you've got the 2019 form. Start now, develop a strategic plan if you have not already. If you need help creating a strategic plan, call staff, call myself or Myra. That's what we do. That's part of our job. Develop a member survey. Doing that can help you gather some of that data and that information on what your members have done, or jog your memory on some things that even maybe the chapter has done in the last couple of years that you may have forgotten, especially if you are just the one person doing it, and you are swimming in this data and you can't remember it all. So membership surveys can be helpful for collecting all of this information. Or as Joni mentioned, develop a task force or a committee if you have the man or the woman power to put that together. Use your resources. So like I said, start learning the criteria now. Read through it. If you have questions about the criteria, call and ask me for clarification now. Don't wait till the end of June when you're already working through it, and then you call me and you ask a question and I say, oh, actually this means this. And then you're like, well, we've already filled out the entire application, and then that throws off your entire rhythm. So get the criteria now, because I don't want to be the bad guy that tells you that, you're interpreting wrong, or you have the incorrect definition or something like that. Like I said, be specific and add details. And as that prior judge mentioned, the judges really want to see that. That is the number one comment and the number one piece of feedback that judges give is there was not enough detail here for me to even really be able to give points on this answer. Use your regional coordinator. So I'm obviously staff. So on a lot of things, I'm not able to guide you in respect to the chapter key award. So if you call me and you want me to coach you on certain things, on whether an answer is going to earn you points or not, for example, I can't tell you that. That's a conflict of interest because I do work with the judges, things like that. My job is to clarify the criteria, to be able to help you apply, to help, physically apply, to be able to track your eligibility, things like that. So there's a lot that I cannot do, but your regional coordinator is a volunteer. They are a fellow member. They are your colleague, and they can walk through that application and kind of go over it with you in a way that I cannot. A lot of times I get chapters calling and saying, hey, can we set up a meeting and you go through our application with me and tell me where we've gone wrong? I cannot do that at all. That would be a perfect job for your regional coordinator. So use them to your advantage. But then please do reach out to myself or to Kelsey if you need something. If you're having trouble, if you can't find the form, if you can't upload your form, whatever it is. And if it's something that I can't help you with, or I am not allowed to help you with, I will be honest with you and I will tell you that, and I will help connect you with your regional coordinator. Okay. Nicole, I see your question. I'm going to hang on to it for just a second. Okay. I want to talk about the submission portal real quick. It's pretty simple, I promise you. If you can attach a document to an email, you can work the Key Award submission portal. So we've got on our main sigmanursing.org website, we have our whole awards section, and there's literally a button that says submit a nomination, and it'll take you into our submission portal. It's called Confex, if that matters to you, which it probably doesn't. This is what it looks like. So you're just going to select the chapter key award because obviously that is the award that you're applying for. It's mixed in there with all of the awards that are open at that time. So you're just going to click on the arrow next to the key award. It's got the deadline reminder on there for you. And then you just click submit an entry. This is another place where you can download the key award form and the instruction guide. So you can see from this screenshot here, the kind of green bullet points where it says key award form and the instruction guide. Those are also hyperlinked and downloadable there. So I promise you, we're trying to make it as easy on you guys as possible. We're putting these things in multiple places in front of you in case you are having trouble finding them. But then you just literally click the submit an entry button, and then you just follow the steps. So you're putting the title of an entry, which you actually don't have to type anything in. It's a drop-down menu. You just select your chapter name. So again, double, triple check that you're selecting the right chapter name. You'll put your contact information. Again, you're not on the hook for anything. This is just in case we need to contact you for anything if there's a problem or something. Again, key award form and instruction guide are downloadable here if you need them last minute. And then you just follow the steps. You just upload your form. They call it supporting material, but you literally just upload the application. The application is the only form that you can upload. You cannot attach any additional flyers, no additional documents with narrative, anything like that. So a lot of other awards, you can attach supporting materials on top of the application. Key award, the application's it. So make sure that anything you want to say is in that application. Then you go through and you agree that you're satisfied with everything. You'll make a payment. There is a $50 application fee. Want to be very transparent about that. And that is not refunded whether you are or are not a recipient. So once you pay that application fee, you pay that whether you are an award recipient or not. No one wants to talk about money, but I just want to be very transparent about that. And then you will get a confirmation that we have received it. If for some reason you're going through this process and you don't do it in, one sitting or something, or you have concerns that your submission didn't go through or whatever, call me. We can double check it for you, okay? Or if you clicked payment twice and you're afraid your card got charged twice, call us. We'll ease your mind, okay? But it's very, very simple. Okay, we've got about 12, 13 minutes left for questions. So again, use that questions or that comments log there. You can also, if you've got a mic on your computer, you can use the the raise hand button, and I can unmute you. Like I did, Joni, if you would like to ask your question aloud or share an experience or an anecdote, whatever. Ask away. Nicole has a great question. She asked, does each criteria have to be met by the chapter, or can it be done by things that members have done? This is a really, really good question, Nicole, and thank you for bringing this up, because we wouldn't have touched on this unless I had gone through each criteria piece individually. So this was kind of a change that was made, last biennium, 2 biennium ago. Last biennium. So a few of the criteria sections used to say things like, the chapter supported a member to attend a Sigma event. And that was it, which was great. You're paying someone to go to a Sigma event, or paying for someone, to go to a Sigma event. They're getting hopefully something out of that event. Awesome. But then we realized, is that really a member benefit? It is for that one person, but it's not for the entire chapter. So we kind of revamped those questions that were focused on just one person, and we added a little bit to that saying chapter supported, financially supported member to attend Sigma event, and then that member came back and disseminated their lessons learned with the entire chapter membership via some type of program. That's not the exact wording, I don't have it memorized, but it's very, very similar. So basically, the answer to your question is kind of yes and no. So it can sort of be member focused, but the additional piece to that is you don't get credit for just one person doing it. It has to then have been turned around and presented and turned into an entire member benefit. Does that make sense? Because we want to make sure that not just a small handful of people are benefiting from the members or from the chapter or from the board. I hope that answered your question. All right, we got some more questions coming in. Are there any examples of successful applications available? We don't share any past applications, unfortunately, no. Oh, this is another really good question, Maria. Thank you for asking this one. Are we able to use the same example in multiple categories, or should each category have their own examples? So for this one, let me pull up the application because the way that my brain works may not, it works best with visuals. Okay, so the way that I answer that question is I say you do this, you've got a program and you want to use it in a criteria section, right? And say you're going to use it in membership engagement number 8 here. If you're going to reuse that program, I say it's okay to reuse that program, yes, if you're using it horizontally, meaning if you've done that program more than once and you're using it in the same criteria section. When it's I shouldn't say frowned upon or not allowed, but when I say discouraged is when you're using it vertically, so using it in multiple criteria. And the reason that I say that is because judges want to see, they don't want to see the same 2 or 3 programs used for every single criteria. They don't want to see the same people's names showing up in every single criteria. Okay, so that's the way that I think of it. If you're reusing a program or talking about a program more than once, it's okay if it's horizontally, not as okay if it's vertically. That's how my brain works. I hope that answers your question. Maria says, yep, so maybe Maria's brain works like mine. Anybody else have questions? How many examples are recommended for each category? Really, you only need one. Quite frankly, you just need one way in which you've met each criteria. That's really it. Now, that would be for each fiscal year, of course, if you want to get the maximum points for that criteria. But one really is it. The success rate for applicants, I really couldn't tell you. It varies from year to year because the number of applications that we get vary from year to year. The quality of applications that we get varies from year to year, and the judges vary from year to year. But I would say that most of the applications that we receive are already pretty strong. And most of the time, most of the chapters that apply are recipients. I don't think it's ever been 100% that I've been here, that 100% of applications are also recipients, but I don't track percentages that way. Now, maybe the awards department does, but I couldn't tell you statistics that way. Any other questions? They've all been good questions. I know there's more. If you don't have any questions and you feel like you got the information that you needed, I will say thank you for your time and thank you for your participation. Thank you for being a part of Sigma, for being a chapter leader. If you need something, just holler. We are here to help. I am going to stay on the line, so if there are more questions, let me know. But if you're good, go ahead and hop off, go about your day. And thanks again. But like I said, I'll be here if you need something in the next couple minutes, okay? Are there examples of successful applications? There are not. We don't publicize or share any examples of applications because those are private information and those have chapter specific information. So those are private for each chapter. So we don't publicize those anywhere. All right, everybody, I'm not seeing any additional questions come through, so I'm going to go ahead and log us off. Thank you again for your time, for listening in. Thanks for your questions. If questions pop into your head later, call me, email me. I'm here to help. Like I said, start now, start early, and we will see your applications next year. Have a good evening, everybody.